Ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to the 143. This is Under Review coming at you live with episode 109.
Yep, it was coming. You knew it was going to happen. It's virtual now, so this is how we're going to look for a bit, but that does not stop the content from being released.
Yeah, we're on a platform now. We got the split screen going, and as of right now, this is running pretty good. First episode. All right, now I'm knocking on wood. But yeah, we're gonna figure this out. Just like y'all, we're new to this right here, but we're not new to podcasting. So basically, nothing's changing. We're still bringing you epic content every week as we dive into the off season. But today we're here to discuss the big game, the Super Bowl. So let's kick it off with the stat of the week, brought to you by Andrews Logistics. Got to give them a huge shout out. They're the big reason that they're helping us out with this transition, and so really appreciative of the sponsor that we have. But stat of the week: Chiefs are back-to-back Super Bowl champions 3 times in the last 5 years with the overtime win over the San Francisco 49ers, making them the next NFL dynasty. As Nick and I have been saying, 3 Super Bowls in 5 years with the same guys is a dynasty. So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't think we thought it would be this quick after the Patriots, but we have another dynasty in the NFL. It's the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yep, absolutely. And so with that, obviously your player of the week is going to be Patrick Mahomes. He gets himself another Super Bowl MVP. No surprises there. Threw for over 333 yards, was clutch in overtime, and in that last drive that they had at the end of the fourth quarter, threw 2 touchdowns and just put on an all-time performance to get the Chiefs Super Bowl win.
Pretty good second half in overtime, negating the first half, which was just, it was
abysmal. Yeah.
It was one of the worst Super Bowl halves I've seen in a while, but they picked it up. Takeaways from that game, Nick?
Well, could Kyle Shanahan be the biggest choke artist in primetime?
That's certainly a rumor going around.
He has blown not 1, not 2, but 3 double-digit leads in the Super Bowl as a coach. He blew a 25-point lead with the Falcons as their offensive coordinator. He just blew his second 10-point lead as the 49ers head coach. So he has shown himself somewhat fraudulent on the biggest stage. Obviously he's created some great teams, and this 49ers squad that he's had for this year and last year has been extremely good, but unfortunately they choke once again.
Yeah, I wouldn't even as much though. I don't feel like it was Kyle Shanahan's fault on this one. There were just too many mistakes by the 49ers, but to be honest, there were mistakes on both teams. The Chiefs kind of just were able to lock in when they needed to lock in, and it also helps when you have Patrick Mahomes. I feel like the turning point of the game really was that special team, the punt from Townsend that hit the Niners guy in the foot, and the Chiefs got the ball on the 20-yard line was kind of the momentum shifter, the biggest one in the game, I feel like, and that was kind of what got the Chiefs going.
It also
fumbles from some running backs too.
Kyle Shanahan, he just seemed to get out-coached as well.
Yeah.
One thing you think about is, the Chiefs multiple Chiefs players came out and said that multiple times that week they went over overtime rules and how it works in the playoffs. And then there were a few 49ers guys that said that they didn't know how the overtime rules worked in the playoffs. And so, whenever they were saying receive, because I think they were just assuming that they receive, they go down and score, the game is over. Yep. But unfortunately for them, that wasn't the case.
I will say that's a huge coaching error not to explain the overtime rules. to your players. I mean, throughout the playoffs. And these are the overtime rules stay the same when the playoffs start. And the Chiefs said they've had multiple meetings throughout the playoffs, and they had 2 leading up to the Super Bowl about overtime situations. Now, Kyle Shanahan tried to come out and say, like, we wanted the ball first so we could get it third, basically saying if the Chiefs matched their score, they would get the ball again and get to win. But it's like, I mean, even in college overtime, you take the ball second. So
that doesn't make sense.
So
because
I don't
then
feel like, yeah.
what a lot of people were bringing up is that as the team that gets the ball second, as Patrick Mahomes, you then get 4 plays per first down because you have to score, so you're going for it. So then you're getting 4 plays. But
whereas with the Niners, they had to kick the field goal when they're at the 10-yard line just to take the points. Yeah.
But I mean, there's really no excuse. I mean, like Joseph said, that's how it's been for the last month. You just got to know the rules or whatever. Whether that's the case or not, you still got to go out there and play.
A lot of people are saying it'd be funny, though, because the Niners didn't know the overtime rules. So, obviously, the old overtime rules were if you score a touchdown, it's game over, you win. So, a lot of people are saying it would have been hilarious if the Niners went down and scored a touchdown. And what are they, like, all just rush the field like they won the Super Bowl? Like, that would have been funny.
That would have been pretty funny. I mean, that sounds like that's what –
It sounds like it would have happened.
It was a possibility because it sounds like half the guys on offense thought they were gonna win. It was a little bit of an interesting one. Juwan Jennings threw a touchdown pass, the first of the game to Christian McCaffrey. It was a little bit of a double pass action. Brock Purdy throws a screen to Juwan Jennings, who then throws it across the field to Christian McCaffrey, who runs in for a touchdown. And that's where the 49ers would take their first lead of the game, leading 10-0. And then one thing
Jennings, he would have won MVP if the Niners had won. I mean, he played a great game and honestly was the best player on the field for the Niners that night.
That's what I was going to say. Is one thing from Juwan Jennings is he had himself a career, or he had a really good productive day. Obviously, he had that, and then that 10-yard pass for a touchdown that he caught in the fourth quarter, where he fights off 2 defenders, stays on his feet, and just bowls his way into the end zone. I mean, I was pretty impressed. He took matters into his own hands.
Well, I mean, my biggest takeaway from that game, honestly, is, with 2 minutes left in the game, down by 3, Patrick Mahomes was able to lead him down the field, tie the game up. Probably would have scored if they had a little bit more time, just because of how easily they were going down the field. And then in overtime, when they needed him to drive down the field and score, that's exactly what he did. Patrick Mahomes kind of just cemented himself. I mean, if there was any doubt, which there really shouldn't have been, but if there was any doubt, he's now by far the best quarterback in the National Football League right now. And I mean, no one else is even close. He's obviously, people were wanting to make the Tom Brady Patrick Mahomes comparison. He's nowhere close to Brady right now, just because 7 Super Bowls and 3 Super Bowls. There's a pretty big gap there, but I mean, he's only 28 years old. He should have a lot of game left. And right now, Patrick Mahomes is the real deal. Obviously, just like Brady, he's in a great situation. And he's very fortunate with Andy Reid, who's one of the greatest coaches of all time. And, Travis Kelce, one of the greatest tight ends of all time. And this year he had a phenomenal defense. I mean, he's in a great situation. But when the lights were the brightest and when they needed him, it was like, he took him down the field pretty effortlessly. And there were no flags or anything helping him along the way. So
I was going to say that was one thing I didn't see given that much mention, was how much the refs kind of took a step back that game. Not like they didn't call it.
I appreciated that. They called the
blatant and obvious stuff, but like the ticky-tack little things, they just let them play through it. So it was nice to see a game that wasn't, you can't argue was decided by the refs or anything like that.
And I've seen some videos of people trying to complain about the refs, but like honestly, like this is one game where the refs really did, like they did a phenomenal job. They weren't part of the game. You don't want the refs to be part of the game, and they weren't part of the game. And I think most people appreciated that. You don't want to watch a Super Bowl with tons of flags. Honestly, any playoff game. And so I think they did a good job there. I would say in terms of the Chiefs winning it, I would say though, like the comparisons between the Patriots and the Chiefs, the Patriots dynasty, the Chiefs dynasty now, this was the most like Patriots-esque season the Chiefs had, in my opinion, because it was just like, the whole regular season was like, what's wrong with the Chiefs? The Chiefs are terrible. The Chiefs keep losing games. And it was just like, that's what happened with the Patriots, where it's like when your expectation is the Super Bowl and you actually keep winning the Super Bowl, you start to care a lot less about the regular season and you just try to get in. And that's all they had to do is they just got in and then they just won out and won the Super Bowl. And that's kind of how, I don't know if, you probably remember, that's just how the Patriots used to do it. It was just like, win their trash division, get whatever seed they needed to get, and then this Super Bowl. So that's just what happened to the Chiefs this year. They won their trash division and then they just took off in the playoffs.
Yeah, all these guys have been there and done it before, so they know that, once they get to January, it's time to kick it into high drive or whatever, get the show really going. But that was kind of the talk of the entire season, was because, they were having so many drop passes that it was actually hurting them. But, playoffs rolled around and it literally didn't matter. Patrick Mahomes,
it wasn't a problem anymore.
Travis Kelce and all the other stars on the team got everyone else to rise up to their level. Andy Reid was, he's got that coaching experience, so he was able to bring everyone else up. And so, when the playoffs rolled around, the Chiefs turned into the regular old Chiefs. And, that's what we saw in the Super Bowl.
Yep.
It wasn't looking too great for the Chiefs after the first half. Their offense was pretty pathetic. Patrick Mahomes was not doing too much. They kept trying to get Pacheco going, but, that wasn't working. But then second half rolled around, game got more tense, plays started to mean more, and that's when the Chiefs, showed up and they ended up winning the game.
Yeah, I feel like I will say at halftime it definitely felt like the Niners should have been up like 21-3, but C-Mac's fumble in the red zone and a couple other just missed factors. That's why the game was close. I feel like Kyle Shanahan also really, like, how are you only throwing to George Kittle twice in the Super Bowl? He only had 2 targets, 2 catches for 4 yards.
Yeah, that's a guy that he's a centerpiece to that offense.
He's just as good as Travis Kelce right now.
To not get him going is it's pretty abysmal. But yeah, McCaffrey had that fumble in the red zone. I think that was the first drive of the game, and then the Chiefs turn around and they fumble it as well. Patrick Mahomes connects with McCole Hardman on that deep ball, and then I think it was that very next play, Pacheco fumbles and gives it right back. The game was kind of the opposite,
sloppy first half
of what me and Joseph predicted. We said that it could very well turn into a shootout, and then it started to look like kind of that more of a defensive battle, because
there were only 2 touchdowns per team. I think the rest of it was just field goals.
Yeah, teams were their defenses were letting them drive down, but then they were holding them to 3 points, which it's pretty good. But I was expecting a shootout, and I think that would have made it a little bit better. But
also we're all nobody's talking about this. Okay, the Niners. There's a really good chance they would have won the game if Jake Moody had just made the extra point after the touchdown that they scored late. But he kicked it too low, so it was blocked. It was a very low kick. So it was on him. It wasn't that it got blocked. And I think that's something we've seen all season. It's been so weird. This doesn't normally happen. There have been so many missed extra points that change games.
That is something to think about, because obviously that last drive the Chiefs have in the fourth quarter, rather than needing 3 to tie it, you need 4. Which means you would need to go down and score.
Essentially, they would have had, when they got down there with 9 seconds, they pretty much would have had 2 plays to get into the end zone. Not saying they wouldn't have done it, but it's just like that's a little bit different. That completely changes the.
It could have changed the outcome of the game. Obviously, Jake Moody's not the best kicker, but
But it's an extra point.
He made a 55-yarder.
He set the record before Harrison Butker broke the record. he set the record for the longest field goal in Super Bowl history at 55. And then Harrison Butker kicked a 57-yarder while falling down, which cleared the uprights. And he made history. So both kickers, in terms of their field goals, they were good. And then
he was incredible. I mean, I was going to say Jake Moody was incredible from a field goal perspective. 55 and 53-yarder.
I mean, Harrison Butker kept him in that game. Yeah, Harrison Butker's a great kicker.
He is.
He's up there with Tucker. He's up there with Tucker right now.
He'll miss every now and then, but the thing is he makes those clutch kicks.
Yeah.
Like that 57-yarder, that was clutch because, the Chiefs, their offense stalled out, and so they needed to get points to make it worth it. Obviously, he kicks the game. He kicks one to tie the game, 16-16 in the fourth quarter, and then he kicks the game tire again, make it 19-16.
It's kind of like that.
He kept them in that game.
Adam Vinatieri, a little bit similar where it's like, all you got to do is it's kind of like for the Niners, it's like you really got to get in the field goal range if you want Jake Moody to make it. For the Chiefs, it's kind of like you just need to get close and then he'll have a shot. And
which, as Patrick Mahomes, I think that is that's a good thing to have in your back pocket where you got a kicker that can go bang a 57-yarder at any given moment. But, Harrison Butker is just clutch. There's no denying it.
No, he's amazing. And also the Chiefs defense, they were locked down against the different rushes, the blitz packages that Spags was bringing on third down. Me and Nick were talking about it during the game. They were every third down. It was like Brock Purdy had maybe 1 second to get the ball out.
When they would cross like the 50 or the Chiefs 40 or something, all of a sudden the Chiefs defense would hunker down and then they would get this insane third down stop. So it was just a really well executed game defensively for the Chiefs.
How many more Super Bowls are the Chiefs winning?
Are the Chiefs win? That's a good question. It's hard to tell. Obviously,
5.
7 is the number to beat.
7 is the number to beat. And for the record, if he gets to 7, Tom Brady still has the edge because Tom Brady beat him head-to-head in the playoffs.
That's true. I was going to say, he
has to get to 8.
AFC Championship game and then in a Super Bowl. And I've seen people bringing that up on social media and then other people kind of combating that, saying that, head-to-head isn't necessarily a good quarterback stat because they're not on the field at the same time, so it's not exactly even. But my thing is I think that's, in the Super Bowl, that's,
No, head-to-head is always
much better than that.
Head-to-head is the next tiebreaker after you get to, the same record. So it's that's how it's always been with every sport. And so, we've talked about on the show multiple times regarding any kind of GOAT, anything like MJ, it's always by championships, and then it's definitely head to head after that. So right now, until he gets to 7,
you have that 2020 Super Bowl where they went up against each other, and a lot of people are saying that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers had a star-studded this, that, or the other, and it's like, okay, well, the Chiefs made the Super Bowl, so let's not act like they were a freaking bottom feeder team or something like that, because that just doesn't make sense. But in regards to how many more do I think the Chiefs will win, I think they definitely got at least 2 or 3 left in them.
Yeah, I feel like it's obviously a silly question because you never know. Winning the Super Bowl is insanely hard, so it's not a given that it happens ever again for the Chiefs. But they have a really young team, and also next year nobody's ever three-peat. They've never done that in football. So, that's what Kelsey and Pat have already talked about it. That's what they want to do next year. I feel like that's honestly more of a drive to win than back-to-back, because to have the first three-peat in NFL history.
Because that's never been done before.
It's never been done before.
Pretty insane.
And people would say after that, because Brady never won back-to-back, that's when they would start talking about, well, he never did that. Pat did it. Then you would have some people talking about, but like me and Nick said, it's until he gets to 8. And Pat wouldn't be the GOAT unless he got to 8 Super Bowls. That's how I feel.
for me, it's like there's just no comparing anybody to Brady. It's like, okay, I think the best way to put it is Mahomes has GOAT level talent.
Mhm.
He just doesn't have all the years, all the accolades, all the achievements, because Tom Brady was the best or one of the best in the league for like 20 years or however long, he was there. And obviously Mahomes has been
Yeah.
the best since he's been in the league, but I mean, he's still got some years to go.
I mean, he's been a starting quarterback for 6 years now. Brady was like 23, and
When he
for
was a starter.
23 years. Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. And for all 23 of those years, the Patriots were, I mean,
Competitive.
and Tom Brady, Buccaneers, either one, like they were always in the Super Bowl conversation. So, I mean, Pat, for the 6 years he's been in it, has been in the Super Bowl conversation, whether they've made it or not. But yeah, obviously, I don't think any of this GOAT talk really, like, it's not legitimate until he gets way closer.
I mean, I don't think it's fair to either, because it's like,
No.
you kind of have to put down Mahomes, which, like I said, doesn't really seem fair to him because of what he's done. And then it's also not fair to Brady because you're comparing a kid that played 6 years to,
Yeah.
The GOAT. But both are GOATs of their time, for sure.
I mean,
And
but what the Chiefs are doing
Mahomes
right
could be the
now,
next one.
what the Chiefs are doing right now, they are a dynasty now. They are a dynasty. And unless they just are terrible for the next 2 years, I mean, they're still going to be considered a dynasty because 3-5 is a dynasty. And so nobody can really argue with that right now.
3-5.
Yeah. 3-5. Not ACL, not ALCS appearances. That's not a dynasty.
Not 1.5 in
Yeah.
5. That doesn't count.
It doesn't. Like just 1.5 period, which a lot of people could say 1, even 2.
Yeah,
because we
a lot
said
of
3.
people would say.
So
Well, hey, some people would be dubbing the Chiefs a dynasty just because of how many times they've made the AFC Championship. Super Bowls aside.
Astros fans would.
That's what I was going to say. I wasn't going to say it outright, but there are certain people out there.
I will, because I've been hearing too much. I've been seeing too much. It's like, actually, you know what? I think this is our episode next week. We're
going to be talking about something similar to this, and this is going to get brought up. So
Nick and I,
we'll just save that for next week.
We're sick of it, and we're going to talk about it next week. We're going to address it.
We've been in the trenches on the front lines over here defending the good name of a baseball team that we know and love, and so we're just going to bring that to light. But that's our episode next week. So
come in next week to hear some pretty good banter about baseball.
Here's like to end our shows on Under Review. Brought to you a quote from Tom Landry. Speaking of GOATs, he is up there as one of the greatest coaches of all time. Leadership is getting someone to do what they don't want to do to achieve what they want to achieve. And that's the truth.
That it is. That is one of the GOATs, Tom Landry, right there. Thank y'all for being with us all season. We now enter the off-season stage where we kind of just pick and choose what to talk about. More creative phase. And
with that, feel free to send us a topic because,
yes,
I mean, we do have a bunch of stuff in mind, but there are times when we're scrounging around, trying to pick up something.
We have like 25 to 30 weeks now of
right now.
We want to talk about.
Like, obviously, it's baseball off season, but there's not a whole lot of trades or any signings going on right now. So if you have an idea, feel free to just send it our way.
Thank y'all for tuning in this week and all season. We will see you next week, and we'll begin the off season with some baseball talk. But we'll see you next week. Another episode of Under Review.